Hi everyone, it's Raina. So I just wanted to touch upon the transit of Jupiter in the sign of Scorpio, which is occurring on October 11th, 2017. And Jupiter will be in Scorpio until November of 2018. So this is over 1 year of it being in the sign of Scorpio. And that is a typical transit period for Jupiter. It goes through a sign approximately once every year. And so I'm going to talk about each sign individually and what you can expect to have be expanded in your reality and possibly have a bit of luck in that area. And that is kind of what Jupiter is all about. Now, Jupiter is the ruler of the ninth house of higher education and philosophy and foreign travel and what else? Publishing, religion. So there's like a lot of forward movement with a sign like Sagittarius, which is the sign ruled by Jupiter. And of course, Sagittarius is a fire sign. So all of that, whatever that entails, the enthusiasm, the positivity, that is what Jupiter holds within its vibration. And it's combining with Scorpio. And Scorpio is very mysterious, isn't it? It's a fixed water sign. It rules the eighth house. Its rulers are Pluto and Mars, which are quite, intense. And Mars is combative energies. Mars is the god of war. So we're bringing together these two forces. Scorpio is all about secrets. It's all about what lies beneath the surface. It's all about digging deep, being intimate, whether it's sexual intimacy, emotional intimacy, spiritual intimacy. Actually, the eighth house deals with the occult. So you could say like the ninth house deals with more of the traditional religions and even if it's like any kind of belief system you hold, it's more of an outer construct, whereas the eighth house is a water house. And so it's the emotions and the psychic activity that are there. And so when we combine these two elements, if you will, we're looking at Jupiter to expand upon, amplify, and to bless, bring luck to the areas that Scorpio represents. So what could happen for all of us? Well, we could see water becoming more and more of an issue. I'm recording this after 2 hurricanes have hit the United States, and there's another one in I think it's Caribbean, but there's one behind them. So the issue of excessive water with Jupiter could certainly continue to be an issue, or maybe even amp up, God forbid, because these areas do not need more water. However, on the plus side, maybe we're going to see more abundance of water in areas that have previously been needing it. There was a drought in California, and this summer, or I think it's like around June or May in the Midwest, I'm usually expecting California grapes, and they did not come. And also the other one was, I don't think that had anything to do with any drought, but so I won't even bring that up. But just last week, and we're talking September here, or maybe it was late August, I finally purchased a bag of California grapes, and it was more expensive than I'm used to, but not super expensive. So I know it must have been the crop finally coming in, but they were decimated because of the problems from the past. And so California is a big area for produce for North America. So when anything goes down like that, that's very serious. So perhaps we're going to see more of a wonderful situation with water in the western part of the United States and in other parts of the world where they may be experiencing drought. That would be nice. And the other issue that I'm thinking of is related to some mysteries or so-called conspiracy theories that we still argue about. Ironically, I'm recording this on September 11th, and I remember very clearly what I was doing on that date in 2001 and when I first found out about what had happened. And it's very interesting because I can't exactly pinpoint it, but right around that time, I started reading David Icke. And of course, he gets slapped with the label conspiracy theorist. And yet so much of what he talked about 16 years ago, almost 20 years ago, almost 2 decades ago, and people laughed at him for, it's becoming mainstream knowledge. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. This could be something that is more prevalent in the coming year, is that we get the curtain pulled back and we see that some of the things that we have been told, and this could be in politics, this could be about other pillars of society, the scientific community, the religious community, whatever, that they have been lying to us, that they have been distorting things in order to keep us in line, in order to keep us under control. So look for that. When somebody tells you that something is a conspiracy theory, they could very well be trying to discredit anyone for thinking, for questioning the official story. And look at the phrase fake news. Find out the origin of that term and you might be quite surprised, because actually the people who created that did so to discredit those who were questioning certain statements by the media, and it ended up being a big blowback on them. And this could continue, but as I said before, it could amplify because Jupiter is this big influence and it tends to expand that which it touches. So anything to do with metaphysics and the deeper ideas, the secrets of life, may become more mainstream. More people may become interested in them. I love that because you can see that this is already occurring, that the vibration is increasing in this world, that people are getting into things that before they never were. And the conversations we're having are much less mundane and much more geared towards very deep issues. Scorpio doesn't like to be superficial. So I am hoping that a lot of the superficiality in the media that we see, or in our whatever we call entertainment, will start to dissipate. And what will overtake it is meaningful kinds of stimulating. If you want to call it entertainment, you can, but I prefer to call it stimulating activities, because you can be entertained by a documentary that can also stimulate your thinking on a particular issue. Most of the things that I read now I would say all of them. I don't read fiction, and I'd like to. because I'm a writer, but I think that's really important for people who are writing fiction to read it as well. But I just am so fascinated by information, and it entertains me too. So we may see people starting to become deeper, and not just becoming it, but valuing it, and kind of shunning any attempt to dumb us down and to keep us kind of connected to trivial crap. And so that would be a welcome change for sure. So I'm going to start talking about each of the signs and how this Jupiter transit may affect you. I may post this before I create a timestamp. So please bear with me if you're listening to this. Hopefully you've gotten this far. And so I'm going to start with the sign of Scorpio, since this transit is affecting your sign directly. It's actually in your sign. A Jupiter transit in your, with your sun sign is wonderful, because it's a whole new 12-year cycle for you. And it's like having just that lucky little thing, in your back pocket, this like lucky little trinket that you carry with you all year long, because you may just find that everything is a lot more fortunate for you. Maybe not in one specific area, but in general. But I would say, since it's going to be transiting through your first house, Scorpio, that this could affect your ability in a positive way to reach out to others by selling yourself. And this is in terms of whether you're looking for a job, whether you're trying to find a mate. Scorpio tends to be kind of a lone wolf, and it's not that you may be insecure, you just may not be flashy and extroverted. You may tend to kind of keep to yourself and be a little bit reticent when it comes to just putting yourself out there. And you may find that you're doing so and that it's uncharacteristic for you, but it can be very fortunate for you, in the sense that if you're looking to get a new job, you may put your best foot forward. The first house is the house of the self. It's the house of your image, and you may try to capitalize on the essence of who you are, and it could pay off for you. And the same thing applies for your love life. You may find yourself feeling more confident in some way, and you may try things new. You're a fixed sign. You typically like to do the same things over and over again. But this may be a 12-month or 13-month cycle where you have more of a desire to kind of branch out and do different things. So that can be very fortunate. And who knows, maybe it even involves moving to a new location. Even though this is not your home and family sector, you could still be thinking more expansively about your basic self and want to get to places that you haven't been before. So that it's just like having general luck for the year. So that's awesome. Now, Sagittarius, where is this going to be? Well, it's going to be in your 12th house. And the 12th house is a house that is very hidden, and it's kind of it may be a very subtle influence for Sagittarians, in the sense that a lot may not happen, that is noticeable. It could just be that you have a guardian angel that is always watching over you, and you have these unexpected benefactors. Maybe they never even make their names known, that help you out from behind the scenes. It can be, if you're somebody who is wanting to get on a spiritual path or to deepen your path, you may come across some kind of a guru, for lack of a better word. Well, spiritual teacher sounds like more of an accessible term. And you may meet somebody like this, and this person can really expand your worldview, can give you a sense of direction that in a kind of beautifully faded way gives you a whole new lease on life. And so I just had done Scorpios, and that was the first house, and you're the 12th house. In a lot of ways, it's like a bookend, because this is the end of a cycle. And starting next November, you're going to start your own new 12-year cycle. And so in terms of finishing things up, there may be a beautiful surprise waiting for you at the end. And this may be something karmic, something destined, and as we could say, it could be from a hidden source, maybe somebody from behind the scenes. And behind the scenes could mean from another dimension, that is, or a loved one who has crossed over, who is helping you to have some kind of expansion in your life that you have been wanting. You could see your psychic gifts suddenly increase quite rapidly. Sagittarius is the ruler of the 9th house, and there's always that sort of prophetic connection to Sagittarius. I think sometimes it's underplayed, actually, because Sagittarius sage, but sages sometimes are seen more as teachers, and there's not a lot of woo kind of associated with it. In other words, the otherworldly aspects. We expect that with Scorpio, though. See, Scorpio could be talking to the disincarnate, people who have already crossed over. And Pisces, for sure, is all about woo. So you might, amp up your woo qualities. And for some of you, this may have already begun, and you may have found, if you want to talk about ascension or just your own personal spiritual journey, this might just be that amplification of it. And who knows, it could even affect your career choices. You never know what direction you're going to go into with this. Okay, Capricorn. What is happening with Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this transit is going to affect your 11th house of hopes and wishes. I actually think that Capricorns, you may have a wonderful time of things. And the reason that I'm trying to emphasize this is because you have that Pluto transiting through your sign right now. So you are going through intense transformation, and Pluto is one of the rulers of Scorpio. So it is in the same energetic composition, but we're talking about the 11th house here. So we're talking about hopes and wishes, long-term, long-range goals, and your friendships, your social connections, expanding possibly massively. And this could be good for your bottom line when it comes to your career. This could be just good for anything related to your desiring more friendships, if that's something that appeals to you. But I think for Capricorns, the main thing that really floats your boat is dealing with your long-range goals, because you are a very ambitious person. But I want to say something about this. I think that the 11th house differs from the 10th house because it can be your heart's desires, as opposed to just like cut and dried business goals, like financial goals, career goals, things like that. I think this is like when a Capricorn person is daydreaming. What is it that my fantasy life would look like? Fantasy isn't a good word. Ideal life. What does that entail? And really letting your mind wander and just imagine the possibilities and believe in the potential for this to actually come to pass. With Jupiter in that 11th house, you could make your wildest dreams come true. And I will say that I don't think that this is random, though. I think this is just being in the right, that the timing would be right for this to happen. And you are ripe for these things to come true. I do think that it's important for Capricorn to embrace your worthiness, because I was just saying in a video that I did today for one of the signs that sometimes one of the most challenging situations that occurs in life, at least in my estimation, is when your dreams start to come true. It can be very scary. And if you have been used to not having what you want, starting to get it can be terrifying, because your consciousness is not ready for it. And you have to, but just me telling you that may instantaneously make you be able to embrace it. I think sometimes with Capricorn, you guys are like, I have to earn this, whatever it is, this this abundance, I have to earn it by working very hard. There's that, the mountain goat is always climbing up that steep incline. That's what your sign is, the mountain goat. And that represents the attainment of goals. And with the 11th house, you could be like cashing in on it. Abraham Hicks calls it vibrational escrow. It's like your ship coming in. But just remember that you have wanted this for a long time, and it's your birthright. So you may have work to do about willingly accepting something, and it could be even love. It doesn't have to be a material thing. People push away love all the time because they secretly don't feel worthy. And Scorpio is all about the intimacy. It's not about the surface of life. And so for people who are a little bit, a little bit shallow, and I don't think Capricorn is shallow by a long shot, but you can live a shallow life if it's just a career. If you're like so obsessed with your career, you may kind of have shallow relationships because you're not really investing time and energy into them. So this may be a time when all of that changes, and for the better. So congratulations, Capricorn. Now the sign of Aquarius. Where is this going to be for you? Well, Aquarius, you're going to have Jupiter in your 10th house. How awesome is that? That is like totally awesome. And Jupiter in Scorpio in your 10th house can mean that you're also having an influence of work that is meaningful for you. So in other words, it could be like soulful stuff. I had just talked to another sign about, it was actually Sagittarius, about their psychic gifts. With Aquarius, it's really one of the signs that is considered to be telepathic or the equivalent. And some of you may actually get into careers as healers or psychics along those lines, with Jupiter in Scorpio in that 10th house, transiting that 10th house. And but whatever it is, you may really feel this sense of going deeper. And for some reason, the term crack the nut came into my head. I have begun stating out loud what comes into my mind. I do not bill myself as a psychic, but lately I have begun to do this, and I had read that you should do that, but I always kind of push things away. And so I'm going to do that more often because I think that that makes me more conscious to receive whatever may be coming through, if it is. I don't want to build myself up, but crack the nut. So some of you may be researchers, you may be scientists. I mean, certainly Aquarians are known for that, or inventors. And you may have a breakthrough that is related to your intuition. Maybe you've been trying to solve this puzzle, and then all of a sudden it's like a eureka moment. So that's awesome as well. But just anything expansive about career could be featured for you. You may have a banner year when it comes to your career. So congratulations. Okay, Pisces. Pisces. Well, you know, Pisces, Scorpio is a fellow water sign. So we're talking about a trine situation, which is a very easy flowing energy. It's I guess I can say a beneficial aspect, but that might be a little bit too, let's just say it's an easy aspect. And so this is going to be your ninth house. So when Jupiter is in the ninth house, it opens up your world. So if you've been living in a small town, all of a sudden you may get the desire, and once you get that desire, it may outpicture in the 3D reality a desire to travel. Maybe you discover some way to become a foreign student. If you are at university, you could be a teacher of English as a second language, or whatever language you speak as your, I know that you have to understand English to be even listening to this, but whatever you are qualified to teach, you may do something like that. And it opens up your world. Woofing, working on organic farms. And for Pisces, I think this is also benefiting you spiritually, because the ancient ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. And so you do have an affinity for Jupiter as it is. And then on top of that, you have this spiritual dimension that the ninth house, which Jupiter rules, also represents. So this could be helpful for you in your spiritual path, on your spiritual path, in your studies. But the reason that I think this is extra helpful is that your house is the 12th house, and that is very indistinct. That isn't really concrete, solid. The ninth house is more, it's more of a boundary thing where there can be religions with specific doctrines. I was going to say dogma, but doctrine sounds better. And you may even have a course of study that is involving a spiritual practice, and this may tie into a career that you decide to go into. Energy healing is a biggie for anybody who is a Pisces sun. You're a natural healer. So you may find this course of studies that really is for you. And that can be also expansive in your life, because your career may be formed from whatever it is that you study. If you're a writer, this could be a year that you're published. And if you are published, it might even be something that takes off right away. Jupiter, that expansive quality. So good luck to you in the coming year. Definitely if you if you're blessed enough to be able to travel, you might find that your world opens up and you meet people from different walks of life that really influence you in a positive way. Okay, Aries. What is on tap for Aries? Where is this going to fall in your chart? Well, Aries, this is going to be your 8th house. Now, this is Scorpio's natural house. So all of that stuff is amplified for Aries. You may benefit from inheritance because that is the area of the other people's money does connect to that. And you may also benefit from anything that has to do with metaphysics. So for some of you, you may already be getting involved with different ways of thinking because Uranus is in Aries at the present time. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and it deals with far out things, including ideas. And Aquarius is known for that flash of insight. And so because you have that Uranian energy or that influence, now you also have this metaphysical thing happening, and it may just kind of you might be expounding upon some of the ideas that you've already been introduced to. You may have some kind of mystical experiences that you've never had before. A psychic channels opening up for you. The other thing, too, is that you benefit from deepening your relationships with other people. It can be a year of sexuality somehow being a big thing in your life. But I would say not just the typical hookups, because that really isn't what I would say is, I would say that's more of the 5th house of like recreational sex. We're talking about sexuality as a spiritual practice. So tantric yoga, for instance, might be indicated here. I look at Aries people as, by and large, highly sexed. And what they choose to do with that energy, and tantric can involve using control. I don't know much about tantric yoga, but the little I know, and when I think about the 8th house, it's all about power, okay? But with sexuality, this is a very interesting combination. It is misused, of course. And with abuse of power, that's what sexual abuse is. But also with this idea of using sex as a weapon. I won't give sex out if somebody doesn't give me what I want. Using it as a barter, it's like prostitution. There's nothing wrong with, I don't feel there's anything wrong with an exchange of services that is very cut and dried. But we're talking about in intimate relationships where people are subtly using this kind of energy to manipulate others. And that is the misuse of sexual energy. The use to empower the person is through some kind of spiritual practice or, energetic practice. And the other thing, which is kind of out there, is the idea of celibacy. You may decide that you are expending too much energy in that direction and you are benefited from celibacy. So, the expansion of sexuality could lead so much expansion that it's actually celibacy, and retaining that I don't know if you'd call it the kundalini, nourishing that kundalini force within you so that you're not depleting yourself through mindless sexual encounters or even in relationship, excessive sexual encounters. And you may feel that you need a reboot, but anything, in speaking of reboot, even kind of a purifying thing, you may go for some kind of a supervised fast, depending on a specific condition that you're experiencing. You may research is featured with the 8th house, but research ways to detoxify your body and what works for you, and what, if you have a particular condition that you feel would benefit from that, you may do something along those lines that is really life-changing. Because actually, that's what the 8th house is about. It's about life-changing things and becoming a new you. So congratulations, Aries. Okay, Taurus. Well, Taurus, your opposite sign is Scorpio. So Scorpio is your 7th house of committed partnership, and Jupiter there. You are ruled by Venus, so you are a romantic person. Now, you are an earth sign, and sometimes Taurus people prefer to show their love through tangible things like gifts, right? And, like bling. So you may not see it in terms of the lovey-dovey stuff, but this may be a year that if you have, let's say you are a Taurus person who has been living with somebody for 5 years and you have been wanting to get married for whatever reasons you have, whether they be spiritual or practical, this may be the year you tie the knot. Perhaps you have been dating someone and you want to take it to that next level. You want to be a monogamous couple. That could be the year. And, with the 7th house, I do see a correlation with your soulmate, even though I'm sure a lot of people would consider the 12th house, since that Neptunian influences that mystical past life connection. But even in this life, your mate, so we don't even have to say soulmate, but just your mate. Who is my partner in this lifetime? And but you know what? I would say soulmate, because with Scorpio, we're talking about something deeper. We're not just talking about matching rings. We're talking about somebody who touches your soul. So that would be your soulmate. So perhaps you will meet this person during this time. But I think especially for commitment, this is a wonderful time for Taurus people. And in addition to that, if you are working for yourself, you may have more clients and you may be able to connect with them on a deeper level. So when you connect with clients on a soul level, you will likely retain them. They will come back to you because they will feel that they are not just a number. So that can be great for strengthening these contacts. And even if you get new contacts, you may get an abundance of them, because Jupiter, speaks of expansion. So that can be fantastic. If you have any legal matters, Jupiter can give that touch of you coming out on top. But also, I would say that it could be inheritance issues because of the Scorpio connection, and Scorpio ruling that 8th house, which deals with other people's money. So congratulations, Taurus. Now onto the sign of Gemini. Okay, Gemini. Well, you have Jupiter in your 6th house of health. And this can be very good for, and being the fact that it's in Scorpio, it can be very good for purging bad habits, for becoming a new you, and maybe creating a whole new regimen that involves detoxing and, like just purifying your body, but also changing yourself from the bottom up. You may also be researching a lot about nutrition and health, and that may become like this overriding passion of yours in the coming year. Anything involving nutrition. And I like to say, I don't know if this is officially true, that it's alternative stuff, that it's because I see Virgo, that's the ruler of the sixth house. I see Virgo as the vegetarian and as the herbalist. Okay, these are sixth house buzzwords. And so I see you possibly getting into that kind of thing. And maybe, and if you're already into it, expanding it and making it something that really can benefit you in the greatest way possible. So perhaps some of you want to become health coaches or something along those lines, because the sixth house is also your work. And I feel like when people have a transit of Jupiter in the sixth house, they can have more work than they know what to do with. So regardless, I look at the sixth house, Gemini, as the grunt work, as kind of like the day-to-day grind, even if you love what you do. So even if you're not really doing the career of your dreams, but you still are concerned about, am I going to be solvent? Am I going to make money? This would suggest in the next year that you're going to be able to continue to pay your bills. And obviously you'd have to look at other transits to see about career matters. But in terms of that specific area, it looks like you're going to be a busy beaver. Okay, well, congratulations, Gemini. Cancer, what is on tap for you? Well, this is going to affect your fifth house. And Scorpio is a fellow water sign. And this is very exciting. If you want to have children, this may be a time when you're fertile, because Scorpio is fertile just like Cancer can be. Water signs can be fertile. And the fifth house can be about conceiving children. Maybe you'll have twins or triplets with that expansive energy swirling around. If you're an artist, Cancer, and some of you certainly are very creative, you may be more prolific during the coming 13 months. You may find that things are flowing a lot easier for you, and you may be able to even financially profit from your artistic creations if in the past you were not able to. So that could be very thrilling and a new chapter, something expansive that allows you to create an income stream from your creativity. You may expand your scope in being able to touch other people through your art. For instance, maybe let's say you were a painter and you would go to local art fairs. You might start investigating doing it over the internet and being able to show your paintings in a gallery online and then have people order them that way. So in other words, you're reaching people far, far away with the internet and also, promoting your work. This is also the house of falling in love, Cancer. So if you're looking for a romantic partner, you should have plenty of people to pick from. You're not going to have slim pickings in the coming 13 months, hopefully, with this transit, because Jupiter expands your prospects. And so if you recently have had a situation where you're kind of like saying, gosh, there's nobody to meet, where are all the good men and the good women out there? You may find out that there are more than you thought. And so obviously, the more options you have, the better chance you have to pick the right one. You won't feel desperate that there's only so many to go around. It may be during this transit that some of you decide to launch a home business, because the fifth house can be your personal business. So with Jupiter there, it's like a lucky charm. It's also something that could show expansive potential right away. You know, some people, they get discouraged because their business doesn't blow up right away. But you may see that it catches on as soon as you start. The fifth house is also the house of hobbies and fun and games, Cancer. So this may be a year where you are presented with multiple opportunities to have a good time, to go to parties. And for Cancer, this isn't necessarily something that is typical for you. Unless you have a lot of personal planets in Leo, the sign next to you, which in that case, you may be someone who enjoys that quite a bit. But, the typical Cancer person loves their own home, and they love the quiet comfort of familiar surroundings. And you just may be more sociable. If you're going on dates a lot, you just might be taken out to places where you get a chance to go to concerts and plays. And it really is very fun for you. You can let your hair down more than you usually do. So congratulations, Cancer. Okay, so now we have moved on to Leo. And Leo, you have the North Node, obviously, in your sign for the next year and a half, give or take a month. And so with Jupiter in Scorpio, we're looking at your fourth house of home and family. And for Leos, this could mean an addition to the household. So whether it's a new child, whether by giving birth or adoption, or maybe taking in somebody else's children, or you could see your physical abode expanding. Maybe you put an addition on your house, or you are moving to a bigger house. Somehow your physical space gets bigger. I guess it's always possible that some of you may be traveling, and even if you're living in a tent, your whole world becomes your home. And so you broaden your horizons that way. But it really is, I think, going to be more of a domestic thing. It's just that Jupiter does represent that expansiveness when it comes to geography. So, yeah, maybe perhaps some of you are even going to multiple places. Maybe you're going to get a second home, like a summer cottage or something. But the other thing that this could represent is that you're benefiting from this area. So perhaps you decide to go into real estate, and that's what you're selling. Maybe you're involved with something that connects with your roots. Maybe you kind of like do some genealogy and you discover all these other people that are part of your clan, if you will. You can benefit from your parents at this time, especially the mother. So, congratulations, Leo. Sounds like a very domestic bliss type of a transit for you. Okay, Virgo. So this is affecting your third house of communications. And Mercury rules this house in the sign of Gemini. And you're ruled by Mercury too in your sign of Virgo. So you understand what Mercury is about. However, your house is about diet, nutrition, and things of that nature. The third house is about communicating different ideas. Okay, so it's dealing with the internet first and foremost in 2017. That's our primary means of communication. But any kind of situation involving public speaking, maybe teaching, learning. And for you, this can also involve siblings. That's the third house, your local area. So some of you may decide to run for city council person, or I don't know, whatever the local position is that floats your boat. Or you may have luck from your siblings. They may be very helpful to you in the coming year. They may expand your horizons in some way. And you may decide to do something along the lines of teaching or writing. Some of you may decide that you want to start a blog or a YouTube channel. And so you're immersed in all of the things that you have to do. Setting up the channel. What kind of content am I going to do? What kind of equipment do I need if I'm going to be on YouTube? And this is kind of like taking up your time. You might be doing research on it, and you may find that it's even profitable. Jupiter can bring money as well. Definitely for Virgos, the third house, even though it's ruled by Gemini, is something that you understand because it's all about learning. But for Virgos, they tend to like to learn things that are of a practical nature that they can use in their lives, not just trivia. So you may be an expert on something in your blog to disseminate information to help other people in a very practical way, in a very tangible way. Perhaps you want to write a book, and this is a time when you are finally getting around to it. And again, as I was just telling Cancer about the fifth house of creativity, with the third house, you may find if you write a book with Gemini, with Jupiter there, that you can profit from it. It's not just some kind of vanity project that you're doing because you have a hobby of writing, but you really can make a living from it. You can at least see yourself turn a profit and at least see the beginnings of something, planting those seeds that can pay off in years to come. So congratulations, Virgo. Okay, the final sign is Libra. Libra, this transit of Jupiter is going to be impacting your second house of earned income. So Librans really like to live large. You like pretty objects. You like nice things. And the second house is all about that. Actually, Venus rules the second house in the sign of Taurus. And we call it the house of earned income. But it also can be your possessions, luxury items. It's also self-esteem. So on a psychological level, Libran people can maybe enhance their self-esteem by expanding these kinds of issues. Maybe you will be earning more money, and that makes you feel better about yourself for whatever reason. But definitely, you guys like the beautiful things in life, and they come at a price, obviously. And with Jupiter in the second house, money may come to you a lot more easily and in larger quantities. And you may be able to buy those luxury items that you really don't need, but that you want. And you may find ways, multiple income streams, to be able to set into motion a way to have a constant stream of money flowing to you. And even if it's passive income, I would put it in this category only because if it's something that you actually have to do, but you don't have to do it continuously, the kind of passive income that's more like from investments or something like that, I would put in the opposite house. But if it's like, let's say you have some kind of videos that you can sell online, and you make the initial video and you have to actually do the work, but then after that, it starts selling and it picks up, and you don't have to do any more work for that, but you're still getting the money. So you may discover more and more ways to do that, to increase your coffers, but at the same time, it's not increasing your workload. So you may have a lot of financial abundance in the next year. So congratulations, Libra. Okay, well, it looks like I've gone through the 12 signs, and I wish all of you a wonderful transit of Jupiter in Scorpio. Take care of yourselves. Bye.